Hello, everyone. My name's Ramblin' Ray. I live in the Northwest, always have, except for about 3.5 years abroad. Of course, my rambling days have been confined to Pacific Northwest, apart from hitchhiking venture. I ventured out upon when I was 20 years old. Hmm. I'd say it lasted a good month. I left Pullman, Washington on a bus, which went through Lewiston and then south into Umatilla and further south through Medford and on down Highway 101 or the Pacific Highway 2. Well, no, I'm getting off track. I went to Arizona. So I went through Pendleton, it went through Salt Lake City, down into Arizona, down to Tucson, which is where I got off the bus. 20 years old. I had a backpack with a wooden frame and a canvas case, It was a nice backpack. A bit showy, but nonetheless. I had some clothes in it and 2 books. I'd chosen those books very carefully because I would be carrying them, and I didn't want their weight to exceed their importance, you might say. And those 2 books were Ulysses by James Joyce, not Homer, and the Upanishads, translated by William Butler Yeats. While I was there in Tucson, that backpack was stolen. And I remained there, maybe 2 weeks, and then I set off to get back to Pullman on foot, hitchhiking. And that took me about another 2 weeks. So I was gone for a month or so. And it was a grueling experience overall, but there were some highlights. I still remember, I still recall. I believe I can recall much of my life, although from early childhood, certainly not. I don't know, perhaps my earliest memory comes from an experience I had when I was 4 or 5 years old. Certainly no earlier. And one of the experiences I had, which my mind transformed into a series of nightmares, was the time that I got my tonsils extracted. And back in those days, their forms of anesthesia were more rudimentary, you could say, and they gave me ether. And they simply pour the ether over a cotton mask that goes over the nose and the mouth, and then you're done for and you're out of it until you wake up later and find, you can hardly say a word, and they give you some ice cream to soothe your sore throat and so on. Well, I had nightmares about this. I had nightmares about people giving me injections and men in white lab coats and so on. That went on for years, a recurrent dream. And I've had many different recurrent dreams over the years. And that's an odd thing about recurrent dreams. They're so persistent. They are indeed persistent, and they basically demand your attention, and they're in a kind of, well, they're, I don't know, a symbolic manifestation of what is concerning you more perhaps than anything else at the time, and that's why you have it. So the mind gives you this not so subtle hint that something is awry, you could say. And merely the memory of the nightmare, the superficial and facile memory of the nightmare, not its in-depth, detail by detail recollection as it occurred in your mind at the time you were dreaming it. As it transpired moment by moment by moment. No, just a sketchy recollection, as most dreams are recollected, in sketchiness and mystification. Because they're cockeyed, they don't make any sense. Until you see this repetition over and over and over again, and then you begin to realize there's got to be some connection between this dream and the life I'm living now at this time. Why am I dreaming this, you might ask? Good question. So, they're not unimportant, but they're still basically psychic garbage. According to the neurologists and neuroscientists, that's the name for it. Neurologists and neuroscientists and computer scientists, they go in for these cognitive studies that involve overlapping disciplines. And they tend to collaborate to some extent, but they're still confined by their various areas of expertise. They can only venture so far out into the wilds of the exterior of their own sphere or area of expertise, beyond which they're at a sheer academic level incompetent to talk about anything. Except for the generalist, and of course the philosopher is the generalist. And the professional philosophers are all university professors, and the amateurs like me are not. And never have been. Teachers, instructors, professors, and so on. So you might well ask, what does Stacy have to offer? Rambling Ray / Stacy, what does he have to offer? If he can offer anything at all, which could be doubtful.